The context of Friedland 1807 is pivotal in understanding the historical and military significance of the Battle of Friedland, a key engagement during the War of the Fourth Coalition, part of the Napoleonic Wars. This confrontation took place on June 14, 1807, near the town of Friedland, present-day Pravdinsk in Russia, and was a decisive victory for Napoleon Bonaparte's forces against the Russian army led by Count von Bennigsen. The outcome of this battle effectively ended the Fourth Coalition's resistance to Napoleon, leading to the Treaties of Tilsit and altering the balance of power in Europe. Understanding this battle's context is crucial as it highlights Napoleon's military genius and the era's tactical innovations. The Battle of Friedland is often cited as a demonstration of Napoleonic warfare, showcasing strategies such as rapid troop movements and the concentration of force at critical points. This moment cemented Napoleon's control over much of Europe, allowing him to dictate terms in subsequent diplomatic negotiations. Two notable examples highlight Friedland's significance. Firstly, the battle's outcome directly led to the Treaties of Tilsit between France and Russia, and France and Prussia. These treaties marked a temporary end to hostilities and established French dominance over continental Europe, reshaping alliances and setting the stage for future conflicts. Secondly, the tactics employed by Napoleon at Friedland would become case studies in military academies around the world. His employment of the core system, allowing for greater flexibility and responsiveness on the battlefield, influenced military leaders for generations. While many historians view Friedland as a testament to Napoleon's strategic brilliance, some critiques focus on the immense loss of life and the broader implications of Napoleon's aggressive expansionist policies, which eventually led to his downfall. Alternative viewpoints exist regarding the long-term sustainability of such military dominance, questioning whether such victories sowed the seeds of future resistance and conflict. Friedland 1807 connects intrinsically with other aspects of the Napoleonic Wars, particularly the shifting alliances that defined European geopolitics at the time. The battle's impact on the Treaties of Tilsit not only reshaped international relations, but also set Napoleon on a collision course with other European powers, ultimately contributing to his empire's eventual demise. In examining the context of Friedland 1807, one gains insight into the complexities of early 19th century warfare and diplomacy, shedding light on the forces that shaped Europe's evolution during and beyond the Napoleonic era. The strategic importance of the Battle of Friedland in 1807 is a critical concept that underpins the broader narrative of the Blood-Red River. At its core, this battle marked a decisive turning point in the War of the Fourth Coalition during the Napoleonic Wars. The clash saw Napoleon's French forces overwhelming the Russian army near the village of Friedland, leading to a significant shift in the power dynamics of Europe. Strategically, the Battle of Friedland was crucial because it effectively ended the War of the Fourth Coalition, paving the way for the Treaties of Tilsit. These treaties dramatically altered the geopolitical landscape, ensuring a temporary peace in Europe and significantly expanding French influence across the continent. Friedland demonstrated Napoleon's military genius, underscoring his ability to rapidly concentrate forces and exploit the weaknesses of his enemies, thus reinforcing his standing as a formidable military leader. The significance of Friedland can be exemplified by the subsequent Treaties of Tilsit, signed by both Russia and Prussia, which acknowledged the dominance of Napoleon and forced them into a reluctant alliance with France. This shifted the European balance of power, isolating Britain and setting the stage for future continental conflicts. Another example of its importance is the subsequent reorganization and weakening of Prussia, which had profound long-term effects on German territories, influencing the unification efforts that would continue in the following century. Supporters of Napoleon's military strategies often highlight Friedland as a textbook example of his tactical prowess. By expertly directing his troops and leveraging his advantages in timing and positioning, Napoleon was able to achieve a decisive victory that seemed to solidify his control over Europe. However, there are alternative viewpoints that critique Napoleon's over-reliance on military force to expand his empire, suggesting that Friedland epitomized an unsustainable strategy that would ultimately contribute to his downfall. Examining the Battle of Friedland reveals potential challenges and controversies, such as the human cost of Napoleon's campaigns and the ethical implications of his expansionist policies. These points of contention form an integral part of the wider narrative, as they evoke questions about the morality of warfare and the cost of imperial ambition. The strategic importance of Friedland not only highlights the immediate military and diplomatic repercussions, but also connects to the broader themes of power, leadership, and the volatility of European politics during the Napoleonic era, illuminating why this battle remains a pivotal moment in history. In the historic encounter known as the Battle of Friedland, fought on June 14, 1807, the forces involved were predominantly Napoleon Bonaparte's Grande Armée against the Fourth Coalition. This coalition was comprised of Russia and Prussia, which represented the prevailing European powers at odds with Napoleon's expansionist aims. The Battle of Friedland serves as a quintessential example of Napoleonic warfare, characterized by decisive maneuvers and innovative military strategies that demonstrated the formidable prowess of the French military machine under Napoleon's leadership. This encounter is pivotal to understanding the overarching narrative of Napoleonic dominance in Europe during the early 19th century. The significance of the Battle of Friedland lies in its decisive outcome, which led to the Treaty of Tilsit. This treaty temporarily ended hostilities between the French Empire and two major Eastern European powers, realigning geopolitical forces in Napoleon's favor and cementing his influence over continental Europe. Militarily, the victory showcased Napoleon's strategic genius, employing tactics that effectively disrupted the coalition's formations. For instance, he exploited the geographic weaknesses of the battlefield, and through concentrated artillery and surprise cavalry charges, he achieved complete rout of the opposing forces. This is evident in the doctrine that following this victory, Napoleon could dictate the terms to Russia, pressuring them into an uneasy alliance. While many historians laud Napoleon's military tactics at Friedland as revolutionary, some argue about the ethical implications of his relentless pursuit of power, which led to widespread destruction. Additionally, the coalition forces, despite their eventual defeat, demonstrated resilience and adaptability that would later contribute to Napoleon's eventual downfall in subsequent campaigns, such as the ill-fated invasion of Russia in 1812. Critics note that the short-term victory at Friedland belied the longer-term strategic overreach that Napoleon exhibited later in his career. From a broader perspective, the relative ease with which Napoleon swept aside the coalition forces at Friedland connects to the larger theme of his era, an unstoppable military force challenging the established order. This battle illustrates the uneasy but necessary alliances formed against his rising hegemony, which, despite setbacks, continued to fuel opposition across Europe. Thus, Friedland not only encapsulates a specific confrontation, but also reflects the transient nature of alliances and the perpetual state of conflict during the Napoleonic Wars. Critics and admirers alike agree that such battles profoundly affected European diplomatic and military landscapes, underscoring the complicated interplay of force and diplomacy characteristic of Napoleon's reign. Tactics and maneuvers employed at the Battle of Friedland in 1807 played a pivotal role in shaping the outcome of what became a significant engagement during the Napoleonic Wars. This term refers to the strategic deployment and movement of military forces designed to gain a competitive advantage over the enemy within the theater of battle. At Friedland, these tactics and maneuvers were not merely a matter of military routine. They were crucial in Napoleon Bonaparte's ability to decisively defeat the Russian forces under General Bennigsen. The significance of tactics and maneuvers at Friedland lies in their capacity to transform the battlefield into an advantageous domain for Napoleon's Grande Armée. Understanding the terrain's limitations and the enemy's disarray, Napoleon was able to mass his forces effectively against a divided enemy. This battle is a textbook example of how strategic prowess and calculated risk-taking can turn the tide in warfare. For instance, Napoleon's use of the terrain to concentrate his troops, while the Russian forces were fragmented along the Al River, exemplified his adeptness in exploiting enemy vulnerabilities. Similarly, the decisive cavalry charges led by Marshal Murat crushed the Russian left flank, showcasing how mobile units could disrupt and dismantle structured defense formations. Various opinions attribute Napoleon's success at Friedland to his innovative approach to military strategy. Set against the more rigid, traditional tactics of the Russian army at the time. Some historians suggest that Napoleon's acumen in envisioning battlefield dynamics gave him a unique edge over opponents tied to outdated doctrines. However, there exists a counterview that underscores the overconfidence often accompanying innovation, potentially leading to devastating miscalculations if not tempered by prudence. Critics argue that Napoleon's tactics, while successful at Friedland, were a double-edged sword, as they led to increasing hubris and eventual strategic overstretch in later campaigns. These tactical victories at Friedland inevitably interconnected with broader geopolitical outcomes. The French victory forced the Russians into negotiations that resulted in the Treaties of Tilsit, momentarily shifting the balance of power in Europe in favor of France. Napoleon's maneuvering not only redefined immediate military outcome, but cemented his influence over continental politics. Thus, the tactics and maneuvers employed at Friedland exemplify the critical interface between battlefield decisions and their wider historical impacts, illustrating both the profound advantages and potential pitfalls inherent in martial ingenuity.